Hey guys! Tonight we walk barefoot across the cool marble floors of a palace that never seems to sleep, where golden lamps flicker like restless thoughts, and every corridor whispers the same quiet question: how much is ever enough? You can almost feel the weight of it pressing on your shoulders, like a crown that looks light from a distance, but starts to ache the moment it touches your head. And fair warning, you probably won't survive this story with your priorities unchanged. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I always love seeing where in the world you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are the king, or rather, you feel like you are, because everything around you bends to your will. Servants move like shadows, trays of fruit and roasted meats appear without being asked, and the treasury, is so full that even the accountants have stopped counting. Historically speaking, many ancient rulers measured their power in gold reserves and land, and your kingdom is no exception. The more you own, the more you believe you exist. But here's the strange part: it's never enough. You pace along the balcony overlooking your city. Below, thousands of tiny oil lamps glow like fallen stars. It should feel satisfying. It should feel like victory. Instead, there's this itch in your mind, like forgetting something important, or worse, like knowing something is missing but not knowing what. You sigh, and it echoes a little too loudly. There's a story your court historian once told you, something about ancient kings who hoarded so much wealth that they built entire rooms just to admire it. One even ordered his servants to polish coins daily, not because they were dirty, but because he liked the sound. You laughed at the time. Now you're not so sure it was a joke. A servant approaches, bowing low. "More gold has arrived from the eastern mines, Your Majesty." "Of course it has." You nod, dismissing him, but your fingers tighten slightly against the stone railing. More gold. Always more. It stacks, it gleams, it grows, and yet the hollow feeling inside you stretches just as quickly to match it. Historians still argue whether this kind of insatiable desire is born from power itself or from fear of losing it. Standing here, you suspect it's both. Power makes you want more, fear makes you think you need it. You turn away from the balcony and head toward the treasury. The doors creak open with that dramatic, unnecessary sound that someone definitely designed on purpose, because apparently even doors in your palace enjoy making an entrance. Inside, the gold glows warmly in the torchlight. Piles of coins, intricate jewelry, statues, goblets, objects so valuable that entire villages could live for years on a single piece. There's even a rumor that one artifact here was once believed to bring luck, though it mostly just collects dust now. Funny how quickly magical things become ordinary when you own too many of them. You walk between the stacks, brushing your fingers along the edges. Cold, solid, real, and yet nothing. No thrill, no spark, just a quiet, growing hunger. You stop in the center of the room and whisper, almost without realizing it, "There must be more than this." And the moment those words leave your lips, something shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a subtle change, like the air itself leaning in to listen. Because wanting more is never just a thought, it's an invitation. And somewhere, just beyond the edges of your carefully controlled world, something has already heard you.
The air doesn't change all at once. It's subtler than that, like the faint shift before rain, or that moment when you think someone just said your name, but no one's there. You leave the treasury, but the feeling follows you, padding quietly behind your thoughts. Days pass, or maybe it's just one very long day stretched thin across sleepless nights. Time has a way of behaving strangely when you're restless. You find yourself wandering the palace more often, through gardens trimmed too perfectly, past fountains that never stop flowing, as if even water here has been trained not to question its purpose. And then, one evening, as the sun melts into a soft amber haze, you notice him. He's standing near the outer courtyard gates, where travelers sometimes gather to request audience. But this man doesn't look like he's requesting anything. His clothes are simple, almost too simple, and yet he stands with a kind of calm that doesn't belong to beggars or merchants, more like someone who already knows how this will go. You approach, curiosity pulling you forward like a thread. "Who are you?" you ask. He smiles, not wide, not smug, just enough to make you slightly uncomfortable. "Someone who heard you." Now that's not the kind of answer you were expecting. Also, mildly creepy. You glance around, half expecting your guards to step in, but they remain still, as if unsure whether this man is a threat or just confusing. "I didn't call for anyone," you reply. "Not with your voice," he says gently, "but desire travels farther than sound." You pause. Okay, now he's either a philosopher or a very committed street performer. Historically, tales of mysterious travelers offering life-changing bargains appear across many cultures, whether in ancient Greece, India, or the Middle East. Some were said to be gods in disguise, others tricksters, and a few something in between. You suddenly wish you'd paid more attention during those long, boring storytelling sessions at court. "What do you want?" you ask, folding your arms. "Nothing," he says. "I'm here to offer." That's worse. Offers rarely come with hidden costs. Even free samples at markets usually come with aggressive sales tactics. He steps closer, lowering his voice just slightly. "You want more. Not just gold, you've already discovered its limits. You want something deeper, something that proves your power has no boundary."
You don't answer, but your silence says enough. He nods, as if confirming a private thought. "Then I can give you a gift." Ah, yes, the classic, "this will definitely not ruin your life" gift. "What kind of gift?" you ask carefully. "Anything you touch," he says, "will turn to gold." The words hang there, shimmering like the treasure in your vault. For a moment, your mind races ahead, imagining fields of gold, cities gleaming, entire mountains transformed with a single gesture. You'd be unstoppable, untouchable, the richest ruler not just in history, but in legend. It's almost too perfect. Historians still argue whether figures in these stories truly believed in such bargains or simply couldn't resist testing them. Standing here now, you understand. It's not belief that matters. It's the possibility. "And the cost?" you ask, narrowing your eyes. The traveler tilts his head slightly. "Everything has a cost," he admits. "But wisdom often comes after the gift." Great, that's not vague at all. You hesitate, just for a moment. A flicker of doubt passes through you, something quiet and sensible trying to speak up. But it's quickly drowned out by that familiar hunger, the one that's been pacing inside you since the beginning. More. You extend your hand. "Very well," you say. The traveler takes it, his grip surprisingly warm. "At sunrise," he whispers, "your wish will be yours." And just like that, he steps back, blending into the evening crowd, until you're not entirely sure he was ever there. No dramatic exit, no thunder, just gone. You stand in the courtyard, staring at your hand. It looks the same, feels the same, but something tells you that by tomorrow, nothing will. And somewhere deep in your chest, beneath the excitement, there's a small, stubborn voice whispering that you might have just made a very expensive mistake. You ignore it, because after all, how bad could it be?
Sunrise arrives like a painter's brush, trembling over the horizon, spilling pinks and golds that seem almost unnecessary. You step onto the balcony, stretching your fingers toward a simple stone cup left on the ledge. You touch it, and it gleams. Not a reflection, not a trick of light. Pure, shimmering gold. Your breath catches. It's real. You feel the impossible in your hands, cold and solid and utterly magnificent. The first thrill hits like lightning. You laugh, quietly at first, then louder, letting the echo ripple across the palace walls. Historically, there are records of rulers testing enchanted items, from King Midas of Phrygia to Indian emperors who used mystical gemstones, and most accounts suggest that early wonder quickly spiraled into obsession. You understand that now in a way that textbooks never captured. One object becomes many. One gesture becomes a routine, a game that demands higher stakes with every move. You turn your attention to the courtyard fountain, a simple sculpture of a lion. A casual tap, and it shimmers. The water itself freezes mid-splash, transforming into molten gold that clinks and sparkles in the morning light. You grin. At first, it's amusing. You imagine gifting the treasury staff a single golden cup and seeing their faces light up. But soon, amusement edges into obsession. You can't stop yourself. Candles, utensils, even the odd piece of fruit, everything gleams with a metallic sheen. You wander through rooms in your palace, trailing fingers along tapestries, noticing how even the rug's threads catch the light and refuse to remain soft. There's a thrill here, yes, but also a strange hollowness. The richness feels heavier than it should, almost alive in its weight, pressing down in a way that velvet or stone never could. Quirky rumors had once reached your ears about alchemists who believed turning everything to gold would allow them to reach eternal life, or at least a very, very fancy retirement. You start to see why. There's a hypnotic lure in the transformation, a temptation to ignore everything else. Every meal tastes the same, every conversation fades. Historians still argue whether Midas's story was a warning about greed or simply an allegory for the limits of human desire. Standing here, with your palace slowly sparkling into a labyrinth of gold, you suspect it's both.
But then comes the first warning. Your favorite pet, a small, scrappy dog that had always followed you through gardens, bounds toward you, tail wagging. You laugh and reach out, and in a moment that freezes you in shock, the dog's fur shimmers into cold, unyielding gold. The familiar warmth of life is gone, replaced by a statue. You kneel, hands trembling, staring at the immobile figure. Even the faintest whimper is gone. Only cold metal remains. Panic bubbles beneath your initial awe. Gold feels heavier now, not just in your hands, but in your chest. The realization creeps slowly. This gift isn't just a blessing, it's a curse. Every touch, every casual gesture could erase what you love most. The weight of it presses on you, sharper than the heaviest crown, more relentless than any debt. You retreat into your chambers, shutting the doors against the glimmering palace, trying to think. Even food becomes impossible. Everything you reach for turns into gold before it hits your lips. You glance at your reflection in a golden mirror, and for the first time, you don't recognize yourself. Historians still debate whether such stories reflected actual attempts at immortality or were cautionary tales of unchecked ambition. You realize it doesn't matter. You are living the debate. Every golden object now reminds you that desire is a double-edged coin, shiny, seductive, and entirely unforgiving. By midday, you're pacing, exhausted, hands shaking, eyes darting across the rooms that used to be familiar. What once was joy is now isolation in glittering disguise. Even laughter echoes back at you, hollow and metallic. You remember that traveler's words, the casual warning buried under excitement. Wisdom comes after the gift. You wonder how long the lesson will it take to arrive. Meanwhile, the walls gleam, the floors glitter, and every heartbeat seems to ask, was this worth it?
You stop pacing eventually, not because you found peace, but because exhaustion finally drapes itself over your shoulders like a heavy cloak. The palace, once alive with footsteps and whispered conversations, has grown eerily quiet. Servants keep their distance now. Smart move, honestly. No one wants to accidentally become a decorative statue next to the fruit bowl. You sit at the edge of your bed, careful, so careful not to touch anything unnecessarily. Even the sheets feel like a threat. Hunger gnaws at you, sharp and persistent. You haven't eaten since sunrise, and every attempt has ended the same way. A golden plate, a golden cup, a very disappointing golden piece of bread. Not exactly the breakfast of champions. Historically, famine and isolation were among the greatest fears of ancient rulers, not because they lacked resources, but because they often lost connection with the very systems that sustained life. You, ironically, have all the wealth in the world, and yet you can't take a single bite. You let out a dry laugh. Impressive, you mutter to yourself. Truly efficient way to ruin everything. Then you hear footsteps. Soft, familiar. You freeze. Father? The word hits you harder than any curse. You turn slowly, your breath catching as you see her, your daughter, standing in the doorway. She looks worried, confused, but still smiling in that small, hopeful way she always does. She hasn't understood yet. She couldn't possibly understand. And suddenly, nothing else matters. "Stop!" you say quickly, holding up your hand. "Don't come closer." She tilts her head, frowning. "Why not? Everyone says you've been acting strange." Ah, yes, strange. That's one way to describe turning the palace into a luxury graveyard. "I'm fine," you say, forcing calm into your voice. "Just stay there." She hesitates. For a moment, it works, but then she takes another step forward, her concern outweighing your warning. Historians still argue whether the daughter in this ancient tale was real or symbolic, a representation of love, innocence, or everything wealth cannot replace. Right now, standing in front of you, she feels very, painfully real. "Please," you whisper, your voice cracking, "don't—" But she's already moving. Instinct takes over. You reach out. And the moment your fingers brush her arm, the world stops. The transformation is instant. No slow fade, no warning. 1 second warmth, the next cold, unyielding gold. She stands frozen in front of you, her expression locked in gentle concern, now carved into lifeless metal. Even her hair, once soft and tangled by the wind, gleams in perfect, cruel stillness. You don't move. You can't. The silence that follows is unbearable. It's not just quiet, it's absolute, like the world itself has stepped back, leaving you alone with what you've done. A strange, hollow sound escapes your chest before you realize it's coming from you. Not quite a sob, not quite a laugh, just something breaking. You sink to your knees. All the gold in your kingdom couldn't buy back a single breath from her. And now you understand. This is the cost. Not written in contracts, not spoken aloud, but woven into the gift itself. Everything you touch, you lose. Quirky old texts once claimed that gold was the tears of the sun, a divine substance meant to be admired, not possessed in excess. Sitting here now, surrounded by your shining prison, you start to think maybe they were on to something, because this doesn't feel like power anymore.
It feels like punishment. Your palace is full, yet your world has never been emptier. You crawl backward, away from her, as if distance could undo what's been done. Your hands tremble violently now, as though they finally understand their own danger. I didn't mean this, you whisper, but meaning doesn't matter anymore. Consequences don't negotiate. And for the first time since this began, you don't want more. You want less. Less gold, less power, less of whatever this has become. You want your life back, your daughter back, your hunger back. Even that would be a blessing now. You press your hands against your head, careful not to touch anything else, your thoughts spiraling. The traveler. He said wisdom would come after the gift. Well, congratulations. You've never felt wiser or completely ruined. And now, with nothing left to lose, one desperate idea begins to take shape in your mind. Find him. Because if this gift came from somewhere, maybe, just maybe, it can be taken back.
You don't wait for morning. Sleep would be pointless anyway. What would you do? Dream about bread you can't eat? So instead, you wrap your hands in layers of cloth, thick and clumsy, like you're trying to hide from yourself, and step out into the night. The palace behind you glows faintly under torchlight, every surface gleaming with that same mocking brilliance. It looks magnificent. It feels like a tomb. You walk quickly through the courtyard, avoiding everything, touching nothing. The guards hesitate as you pass, unsure whether to stop you or salute you. You give them no time to decide. For once, being king doesn't feel like power. It feels like distance, like you're already halfway gone from this world. Outside the palace gates, the air is cooler, freer. For a moment, you just stand there, breathing. It's strange how something as simple as air feels like a gift now. No gold, no weight, just existence. You move into the sleeping city, your eyes scanning every shadow, every corner. Where do mysterious, possibly magical travelers go after ruining someone's life? There's no sign that says, regret solutions this way, unfortunately. Historically, many ancient stories describe rulers leaving their palaces in disguise to seek truth among ordinary people. Some found wisdom, others found trouble. You're hoping for the first, expecting the second. You wander past quiet homes, dim lanterns, and the occasional stray animal that wisely keeps its distance. Good instincts, honestly. Hours pass. The sky begins to soften at the edges again, hinting at another sunrise, and with it, another day trapped inside this curse. Looking for something? The voice stops you cold. You turn, and there he is. The traveler stands beneath a tree, exactly as calm as before, as if he's been here the whole time, waiting. Of course he has. People like him always seem to operate on that "I knew you'd be back" energy. You say, your voice tight. Take it back. No greeting, no politeness, straight to the point. Character development, I guess. He studies you for a moment, eyes soft but unreadable. You've learned quickly. Take it back, you repeat, stepping closer. I don't want it. I don't want any of it. He nods slowly, as if confirming something to himself. Most don't say that until much later. Historians still argue whether figures like this traveler were meant to represent gods, fate, or simply the consequences of human choices. Standing here, you don't really care what he represents. You just need him to fix this. You said there was a cost. Fine, I'll pay it. Just undo this. The traveler steps forward, his presence steady, grounding. The cost, he says gently, was never gold. You frown, frustration rising. Then what was it? Understanding.
That's not helpful, at least not immediately. He gestures toward your wrapped hands. You wanted more than life itself could give, so you were shown what more truly means when it has no limit. You swallow hard, because now you know. More doesn't stop, it doesn't satisfy, it consumes. I understand, you say quietly. I was wrong. A small smile touches his face. Yes, you were. Okay, a little blunt, but fair. He turns slightly, pointing toward a narrow river just beyond the trees. You hadn't noticed it before, but there it is. Soft, steady, real. Wash your hands there. Let the river carry the gift away. You hesitate. That's it?
He chuckles softly. It's never just that, but yes, that is the path. Quirky ancient beliefs often held that rivers could cleanse not just the body, but the soul, washing away curses, sins, even memories. You never took those stories seriously. Until now. You move quickly, almost afraid the chance will vanish if you hesitate. Kneeling at the riverbank, you dip your wrapped hands into the cool water. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, a strange sensation, like warmth unraveling. You pull your hands out slowly, unwrapping the cloth with shaking fingers. Your skin looks normal. No glow, no shimmer, just hands. Ordinary, imperfect, human hands. You grab a small stone nearby and hold it. Nothing happens. You exhale, a long, trembling breath you didn't realize you'd been holding. Relief floods through you so suddenly it almost hurts. You rush back. The palace, the courtyard, the room. And there she is. No gold, no stillness. Your daughter stirs, blinking as if waking from a dream. "Father?" she says softly. You don't hesitate this time, but you move gently, carefully, wrapping her in an embrace that is warm, fragile, and real. And for the first time in what feels like forever, it's enough. The palace will recover, the gold will remain, but it will no longer rule you. You will eat simple meals again, walk among your people, and maybe, just maybe, listen more than you command. Historians still argue whether kings like you truly changed after such experiences, or if time slowly pulled them back into old habits. But you carry something now that gold could never give: perspective. And it's surprisingly lightweight. The night softens around you now, the edges of the world blurring into something gentler, quieter. The urgency fades, replaced by a slow, steady calm. You sit once more on your balcony, but this time the city below doesn't feel like something you own. It feels like something you belong to. The lamps flicker again, just as they did before, but now they're not competing with gold. They're simply glowing. Your hands rest peacefully in your lap, no longer dangerous, no longer restless, just hands, human, enough. And as the breeze drifts past you, carrying the faint sounds of life returning to normal, your thoughts grow softer, slower, like waves settling after a storm. No more reaching, no more chasing. Just this moment, quiet and complete. You breathe in, you breathe out. And somewhere between those two simple things, you finally understand what it means to have enough. Let that feeling stay with you now, light, steady, unhurried. Nothing more is needed, nothing more is missing. Just rest.